Tell me your full name
Leon Hightower.
and your birth date.
April 1 of 1926.
Okay. I'm gonna turn the lights back on. Where'd you grow up?
Upshaw community in Weston County.
Upshaw.
Upshaw?
Upshaw.
Okay. I don't know where that is, but Winston County.
Yeah, Addison.
Oh, I know where Addison is.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Well, that's not far from here.
Yeah. 8 mile, 10
Yeah.
mile.
Yeah. How many people in your family? Brothers, sisters?
I had 5 brothers and sisters. Lost a sister when she was a child, a year old, I guess.
Okay.
No, she wasn't a year old. Got burned.
Oh.
People had open fireplaces and her dress got afire,
Oh no.
and she got burned. We got it. I can just barely remember. I can't remember what she looked like,
Mm-hmm.
but I can remember the day when she got burned. Yeah.
Okay. How old were you?
Oh, I'd be afraid to say. I was
Okay.
5,
Okay.
4.
So tell me about your service in World War II. You were in the Army,
Yes, sir.
and so when did you join up?
Well, naturally, I registered, and in a very few weeks, I had to report to Montgomery. And then from that, just a few more weeks, or they call them to come up, you know,
Yeah.
and for the county, and we went to Fort McClellan, and we was in then. That meant just a few short weeks, and he told us that it's hot weather September in Camp London, Florida,
Mm.
and he said it's going to be hot and dry now, and keep plenty of water. Well, what you've got, the canteen's all we had, but said don't pass up an opportunity to fill that canteen, because you're going to be trained to do without water anyway. And it'd wear you out. Now, you had to be in pretty good shape to start with. But as it went on, naturally something's going to happen till everybody can't do it. Well, he'd drop out, and they'd get another one to take his place, you know.
Mhm.
That happened. And if you got through all of that, 12 weeks, I believe, to start with, without dropping out of anything. If you dropped out, you hit the tail end of it again, but if you made it with that at one time, that's when they gave you rifle, your qualifications for infantryman.
Mm-hmm.
And so many more weeks, and they got hotter and drier, less water. But you get, if you do that enough, and they tried to pick us farm boys that was in the sun all the time, and at the end of so many weeks, 16 weeks, I believe, it's short time, we qualified for combat duty. That's when they issued us our rifle.
Yeah.
And we was on the way that quick. We didn't know it about, well, 4 months or so. And we was on the way.
What year was that? Do you remember?
1944, early 44.
Okay.
And we gathered back at Fort McClellan. From that, on the train to Washington, and from that on to Camp Kilmer, New Jersey.
Okay.
And from that, we got on the Queen Elizabeth.
Oh.
And when we got on a little further up in Maine, you know. But I don't see how they could put, you know, Queen Elizabeth was the biggest thing afloat, I guess, at the time. And then they had that converted for bunks. And I believe 20-something thousand of us stacked in there.
Wow.
All infantry. And I had the nurses' quarter that they wanted to keep all together, so they made room for them. And we went on that. And 5 days, I believe it was, we got into we didn't get into Normandy because it was too big. We had the ship was too big. They had to park a way out, you know. And another one broke us down till we got enough to go. Well, of course, there's a way in there that we had to ride a train over to London. That's when they broke us down and put us across the English Channel.
Yeah.
Into France, but we didn't hit Normandy. We was behind Normandy. They'd push back a piece. Time we got, that's the reason it's particular with who went. You had to be tough to go to take. You know, you had to be trained to it.
Yeah.
But we got across the English Channel, and it's so rough, my. I'd read about how rough it was, but.
So you went across the English Channel after D-Day?
Yeah, just after D-Day, and I went to into the beach at I can't think of the name of the place now. It's just down.
Omaha Beach?
Omaha Beach, yeah. And from that night, we had to walk a good long ways right in the deep woods. They had the camp pitched, you know, all blackout.
Yeah.
And we got in there and slept a little. It was wintertime within, cold. And they'd gathered up all of the leaves, you know, and that's their bed. Well, just about 2 days, we was assigned to a unit. We went on.
What unit were you assigned to?
Headquarters Company, 3rd Battalion, the 379th Infantry of the 95th Division.
Okay.
The 95th Division was a hand-down division for World War I. They just reorganized it. And France had given that division a battle star during that time. And they said that one requirement, whoever served with that in combat got that battle star just the same as if we were there. And I got 5 on mine, and omitting that, and I had 4 that I paid for.
Okay.
Coal, anything we could, you know, there's a way to do anything. And I wondered about the day, if there's any way to keep warm, but we didn't. We made it, but it made it. We had some tough times. And you get attached to people, you know. Some you like some you don't. Well, a boy was like me. He was young and he was small, and he had a good record, had to have. And each combat squad had so many riflemen, 15 riflemen, and they had one man with automatic rifle, and the rest of it was semis.
Mm-hmm.
And they give this little old boy that I got a buddy with, give him the automatic rifle, and he was just gifted to it. Of course, he'd hunted all of his life, he said. And we didn't get to stay together too long. I don't know, several months, but things got awful hot one day. And the bazookas we had was the biggest thing, you know, that we had. And now they're destroyed. Well, they was then for its time. And we started into little places. It is rough, but it was mostly hands, you know. Directly, I heard a tank crank up, and I told the bazooka man, I said, I hear a tank, it's close. And by then, he was coming close, sure enough, just idling alone. And I told him, I said, get ready, he's coming on our side. We was stretched out, you know, we was on the outer edge. And we could tell he was getting right up at us, you know. And we stopped, the whole unit stopped. And when that gun come around that corner of that building, looked like he would crawl in that barrel, but he was ready with this bazooka. The over hope we had was hitting that track, you know.
Yeah.
And he hit that track with that. Of course, he wasn't falling there at that lady. When it come,
wow.
He didn't get up. He just come out behind that building, and we got him. Well, that got turned him sideways, you know. And the man come out of that. I don't see how, but he had the lid was between it open in front of him,
mm-hmm.
And I'll bet you there's 15 bullets hit that lid. When he raised, he come up like a lizard. He wasn't touched.
Wow.
And he went behind the building there, and me and this bazooka man was on that side, you know. And it's our place to get it. And I told him, I said, cover me and I'll get him. He went by that, and he was an officer, I don't know what, and I didn't know, but he had his colors on his collar and arms. He went around that building, and of course, by then we'd learned what a P-38 pistol, as a German, one of the best, you know.
Yeah.
We'd give anything for one. When I went around the building, of course, I was right behind him I had an M1, and he went around and stopped. He was closest from me to you there. Went around on him. He's standing with that P-38 in his hand. And you know he wasn't afraid of me. He wasn't afraid of nothing. But why he didn't, he just left that. Of course, I told him quickly, I went in and I said, drop it. And he paused a minute, and I wouldn't look away from him. I had a little training in looking away, you know, and I didn't have to tell him the second time. He dropped it. And I've studied about it. He was smart enough, I believe, to know one of us wasn't going to be there. And he just left that. He dropped that P-38, I didn't want it then, but now I would like to have it, wouldn't I? But not then. And some way they wanted the author of that tank, because when I brought him around, the lieutenant come and saw where he come and got him, said we got to have him. The way they went, where I don't know, but they left me alive and him alive, you know.
Wow.
But we went on back to my little friend with the automatic rifle. This is on several months back on to that. We got into some, we'd get over out of Belgium into, what's that little old country?
Denmark?
No. Anyhow, we got into that, got into a tough thing that day. We didn't have no backup, no heavy stuff, you know, close to us. And
were you at Bastogne?
yeah, we was in and out of Bastogne. That's where the Battle of the Bulls started.
Yeah.
And we was in part of that. That's where I lost my buddy.
Oh, okay.
And we got into, most of it was small towns, you know, and it was took up by towns, you know. And we got in pretty good till they let us get in. Then they started, man, artillery come. And if you had to get to a building when the artillery, and somehow they had a spotter. They could follow us, you know, without artillery. And we, of course, we was there again. We was train put. You cover for me, you know. We'd cover and two would leave to go to another building, two more.
Yeah.
Got down to three of us. And one of them was my friend with the rifleman. And just as he hollered, okay, he'd cover for me, and that's the bar to leave, you know, to go for cover. I don't know where the shell hit, I don't know, but he was standing right in the door covering, firing over us. And that shell hit, and me and him both just went rolling. And we didn't lose that rifle, but we lost that helmet. You couldn't wear that helmet, you know, you had to have it loose.
Yeah. And
we couldn't stand up hard, you know, you just shot through. But boy with the rifle, he said, they got me. And we looked back, and he was standing by the steps of that door, propped on that M1, I mean, had a BAR, Browning automatic. He's propped on that with that left leg just flopping.
Mm.
And I had to load my buddy, help load my buddy. I called for ambulance, and it wasn't nothing but a Jeep, you know, just Jeep with 2 or 3 stretchers on it,
Mm-hmm.
and had a flag on it. And they quit shelling when he started in. And I loaded my buddy, help load, just me and another boy loaded him, the driver, buckled him down. And it's hard on you to buckle. You got to hold his leg to keep it from falling off. Just a little, no bone, no nothing, just a little meat to hold it. And he said, boys, I'll see you later. That's the last word they ever got from me.
Hmm.
And several months ago, I don't know why, but my neighbor, his son married a girl that was a telephone person. And she heard me and her daddy-in-law talking about that. And she butted in after a while, and she said, you just don't know, you ain't never heard. I said, no, that's the last word I ever got from him. She said, I believe I can find out if you know his name and the address. I said, I don't know his first name. I know his last name, and our had that address, you know, right down to her company. Give well her address. She said, give me that, and wait a while. I believe I can do some phone work and find what went with him, if he lived or died. In a few months, why, she called me and told me her daddy-in-law lived right by me. Me and him grew up together, you know. She was there, and she come to see me and said, I come with good news and bad news. Said, your buddy never made it, we think. But she said, I'm 90% sure, maybe up to 99, that I can't be for sure because we ain't got that assurance, you know. She said they could track that address right up, and the man with that last name, well, they give a first name, but I didn't know it, I didn't remember. But she said by that, they can track that right up of who was killed and who wasn't. Mm-hmm. And she said the only word we got, he died in Germany. And that meant he just lived for a little while from that. Well, I said, well, I hate to hear it, but it's a closure, and I'm glad of it. I said, I got attached to the man. My life depended on him many a time. The same thing, his on mine. But I said, we got very close, and it's a closure on it now.
Oh, yeah.
I said, that's I thought that, I felt sure of that, but I didn't know till now. And but I missed him. I missed him. They replaced him with other. But that dependency you put on somebody, you know. Well, the further we got, the harder the Battle of the Bulge got, the bigger. Because the Germans brought, they was going to break everything. Because they had, we was right, well, we went into a little town on the Autobahn Highway. That was Germany's big highway. It is a super highway. And we had a lot of trouble of getting it, but finally, we had it, you know, to heavy. They got moved so much heavy stuff till we wondered what is happening, you know. And our intelligent people got word to us, said, brace everything you got. They're making the same drive we're making. They've pulled all of theirs, and the bridge across the Rhine River was a big, beautiful thing. Well, infantry didn't have nothing, you know, for that, and they began to bring all of their heavy equipment that they had wide open across that bridge. Well, they got it across, and it started hours to go, and it didn't make it. They blew that hour end of that bridge down on that big, beautiful thing, but it stopped for a while, but they got stopped long enough till the engineers had to come in there with lumber and stuff and make makeshift to get us across the Rhine River, you know, in trucks.
Mm.
Most of us went in trucks across it. But the big bridge, they got the end of it down. It stopped it, but it wasn't long till that give them time to reinforce a little, get together, but it also gave all of ours time to get up there in reach, and that's where all the end started, right in there. It wasn't long. It went to Germany. Every day got a little better. But I was very fortunate. I never did. A few weeks before the war ended, I took a bullet through that leg, and I was there again, fortunate, missed the bone. My foot dangled, but they flew me to Paris, France, to the 62nd General Hospital, and that is their business. They could fix you, and I worried about it, of course. And the young man was the doctor, the head doctor on it. He said, "No, you'll be all right." I said, "You'll go up on that toe for a while, but we'll put you, quick as that goes together, kind of, we're going to put you through work to get that." He said, "As that gets better, that heal will go," and it did. Took me a good several months for it to go down. I work. I come home and went back to plowing mules like I left, because I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I wanted to grow cotton, and I did. I bought my granddaddy's farm. It was right next to my daddy's. He had a good cotton farm, and I borrowed enough money to buy that cotton farm. Then my house is an old farmhouse. He kept his barn in pretty good shape, but the house is termites had eaten it up. I went to remodel it, and that wasn't nothing. It was for a few years after it, 7, 8 years. There wasn't nothing left. Termites had eaten all the foundations up. Well, I couldn't borrow money for that, but I thought, well, I'm just into it. The boy I grew up with was a type that he's a drunk, but he could make more money than anybody. He could get sober, and stay off of it long and do iron work. He done Birmingham, went to work in Birmingham. From there to Nashville, and from Nashville to Chicago, and his work picked up, went to California. He stayed drunk. No, he didn't. He just pick a time, to pull the drunk. But later he got to want to come home. And he got to want to buy a place there. Well, I had 150 acres, and just me, I couldn't handle it and build me a house. I had to build a house. Well, I couldn't borrow money on that to repair it, because it wasn't. And this drunk got to want to come home, and he knew, or his brother lived there, right? His brother knew that I was getting in a tide about it. And he asked me, would I sell it, any of it? And I said, no. But I got studying about that, and I talked to the loan man with the money. If I'd sell him that 100 acres of that, I could build my house then. And that's what I done. I sold 100 acres of it and grew cotton on the rest of it till I built my house, and I'm still living there.
Yeah.
I got it. I give it all away. I just had one son, and he's like me, he didn't like to work off. He wanted to barber, but he wanted to work at home and did. He barbered for a few years, but I just give him it. He lives on it, and that's his wife there with me. Keeps me 100 yards down the road from him. But I've had a long. Lord's been good to me. I'm 94 years old. I'll soon be 95 years old.
Yeah.
And oh no, well, it'd be a year first day of April. I was 94. But there ain't many people that works. I work a little now. I do a little, but I do a lot less than I used to.
When you were shot in the leg and wounded, I guess that kind of ended your service, right?
Yeah.
You went home after being in the hospital for a while.
Yeah, when the war ended, while I was in the hospital in France.
Okay.
Right. It was just a few weeks. I went through all the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah. December, January.
Yeah. All that cold weather. I got all of that. I mean, December, January, and on into March.
Tell me a little bit about how cold it was during that time.
Well, I don't know the figure, but it was cold.
Did you have to stay? Did you have to stay in foxholes or
No.
or where?
Well, I'd lay out, but infantry didn't have time to foxholes, and mostly artillery people would dig foxholes because they was going to be there, and we was moving all.
Okay.
We just had to lay out and lay together, and we had managed most of the time. If you was driving, you could get in town. When you started into town, usually the civilian people would move out. Not always, but we'd sleep in their beds.
Wow.
Right in there, you know. It'd just be a night here and a night there. And we learned right quick. Not word would get around if you messed it up, you know. But we wouldn't. Somebody'd cook. We had some boys that could cook, but we'd done pretty well. But the times we couldn't get inside, that's when we had to sleep. And I remember one time sleeping in the hay. We'd walked all day now, waiting. We couldn't get this. I forgot how many miles, but we walked all day. Must have been 20 miles, and rained all day long. But there's a waiting for something we could, cause they got the planes. They've been in little P-51, and couldn't keep them fought off. They're fast, you know, but they couldn't keep them off of us. Pardon me. But we got into them. When we just go so far, you just think, well, now I've got to sit down and rest. But it rained, it didn't quit. And in a raincoat, you know how you're wet with the raincoat on after a while.
And it's cold.
And yeah, and it's cold. But it was cover for us. We could move. If it hadn't been raining, we couldn't go without, you know, going on trucks losing a lot that way, that we go afoot. Of course, they like to catch a bunch of foot artillery. They get reached a long ways with them. But they told us if the rain held out, we'd go to a big. They said hopefully there'll be dry hay in a big barn where they got people with that carried hot soup for us, and we got there about dark, and you think you can't live off of soup, but you can. You can drink enough of that, and we heard because we drank all of the soup we could see, and we pulled that hay. It was a big old barn, and in 2 layers. Of course, the ground, it had stalls, but they had hay in most of it, and up there was open. It's like that back there, and we just rode up across that and pulled that hay up and crawled down another row here, And we didn't know it was but a feather bed. But you dried out, but it was cold. That cold was, it's miserable now when you get so cold and you can't, your clothes getting wet makes it worse. But that's infantry. That's infantry. I had a good, all the Battle of the Bulge was just bad as it gets. Any of as bad as it gets, but it's whatever you're in is the worst. But it was. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my time. Like I say, I've got. I can wear 5 battle stars, but the one that France gave the company, I don't feel like it's mine. I got a different feeling from. I got them on a display. My son has. On a little display about so big on the glass.
Yeah.
Lot of people see it, and I never could speak to people. I just never was. I was always a singer, but I never could just speak to people hardly. One of the ladies that goes to church with us, we go to a very small church, works at Redstone, and she works for the high up. She works under a general and with him, She got on me a while back to come and just meet with them. Just meet with them. And I said, no, I wouldn't have nothing to say when I got there. And I told them first I wouldn't go. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I said, you'd have to go with me. I can't hear. And she said, I'll go. But I felt sorry for her. I said, yeah, I'll go. And she said, I knew you would. But we got up there, and of course, I didn't know the general. He come in, he waited till most of us come in, and he didn't have his stars up where I'd see it. He had them on a little thing in there, and I didn't know him as a general. He's a 2-star general, and directly he stood up in the back from it, and he said, if you would, we need somebody to go in the Army, go through basic training, go everything, and through combat and through injury and back home.
Mm-hmm.
And this lady that goes to church with us, she knew about it. She told them, and he'd help me out, though. He'd ask me something once in a while, get me. But I had and when I got through, he wrote me a little, fine little book on him being there, but it is something different to me, but it was to them too. They didn't know, they just, their people, most of them are non-commissioned officers in that bill.
Okay.
They didn't know nothing about except office work. They didn't know. And the general told me, he said, we want you to start from the time you left home to the time you come back home.
Well, you did a good job here telling me. So I'm sure they enjoyed it too.
I appreciate you talking loud enough for me to hear.
Sure. Well, I enjoyed that. That's especially, I've heard so much about Battle of the Bulge and all the fighting through France into Germany. It's great to talk to somebody who went through that.
Yeah, Battle of the Bulge is something else. But I've read an article, I don't know where I got it, but I read it sometime back that the Germans, they had so much up there, they pushed through, was going to make a last ditch with all of us.
Yeah.
Again, all of us. Well, our intelligence people got word of theirs, and they got more artillery and everything in than the Germans had even dreamed with, because we just overdone it. We wasn't better than they was. We just had more people. And their equipment was good too. Their rifles wasn't hardly as good as ours. Ours was all semi-automatics. A lot of theirs most of them was bolt action, and that ain't good.
Yeah.
Of course, by the time it is over, they didn't see many bolt actions. Then they got rid of most of them. But all of ours was semi-automatic and automatic.